Watch what happens every time you flush the toilet. According to the Department of Justice, violent crime in Memphis this year is the highest that it's been in nearly 2 decades. This is the main break along the Cache River levee system that is causing all this flooding. All Memphis police officers are required to fill out a response to resistance form every time they use force when they make an arrest. Here in South Memphis, illegal dumping and blight are a constant problem. You see these piles of tires behind me here. The fog can deploy in seconds, filling the entire room, makes everything disappear. You can see one of the bullet holes that was left in the side of James' Lounge from that shooting earlier this morning. If you look over here, you can see the debris and ash left from one of those 5 cars after last night. The airport does have a history of malfunctions, like it's moving sidewalks. We are standing right next to the brick wall where their car crashed after being struck by gunfire hours earlier. Walking along with them, it took some organization as far as staying ahead of this group. Organizers tried to have their own people go ahead and stop the cars so they could walk safely past. Sewage leaks and mold. That's what Dominique Barnes says she and her 4 children have lived with since the summer.
Sewage is still coming in through the shower or the toilet or the sink. There's sewage running into the yard, which is putting everybody else at risk.
Dominique says they moved into this house back in April. Within a few weeks, she discovered the mold.
And you can smell it. The smell is bad.
You can also see it on her pipes and in the attic. She believes the mold is also causing her daughter to have an allergic reaction. Dominique says it took multiple tries before the shower finally stopped leaking sludge. But watch what happens every time you flush the toilet. It looks disgusting and smells even worse. And it happens every flush. Dominique says in August, maintenance replaced this section of pipe on the side of the house. She says it took only a week for the top to pop off, allowing the sewage to flow freely. Management tells her if she wants these issues fixed, she'll need to move out temporarily by November 1st so they can rehab the home. Dominique says she can't afford to move, especially without help from her landlord. For its part, the city has issued property owner MDM Investments of Memphis 2 code violations for mold and sewage. Mike McGee with MDM told us yesterday that, quote, everything was being addressed. The city visited the property again today, and they have cited MDM Investments of Memphis to environmental court. In Memphis, I'm Stephen Pimpo. This giant tree was no match for the nearly 80-mile-an-hour winds during today's storm. Somehow, it didn't do any serious damage to the 3 houses in its path.
We were like on this side where the kitchen is, and we started seeing the wind, so we just ran that way because we knew trees were over here.
It's one of several homes on Perkins Road covered in fallen trees. And it wasn't just the front yard. The storm also snapped this tree in half in the back. But there was plenty more damage done thanks to massive trees, which East Memphis is full of.
People don't realize when they first plant these trees that what's going to happen. These trees can get up to 100 feet tall or so, and they're just really close to the houses, and they're just it's a hazard.
Jennifer Amaya says these trees were here when her parents moved in nearly 20 years ago.
And they've been here since then, and the neighbors say they've been here even longer, and when they came here, they were already here.
East Memphis resident Dennis Dixon says this house was badly damaged in a storm last year.
They had to replace their entire roof. The whole right side of the house was caved in, and they've got to deal with it all over again.
And after a week filled with storms, he and other Memphians are tired of constantly looking out for falling trees.
I used to love trees. I'm not so much anymore.
In Memphis, I'm Stephen Pimpo.
I would like to go to our state legislators and speak to them directly. I want them to look me in the eye and tell me that I don't matter, because that is what this bill says.
Moth 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 is one of several drag performers who call Memphis home. But after spending the last 7 years as an entertainer here, she says a new bill before the Tennessee General Assembly threatens her livelihood.
This bill makes doing drag in public a felony and a misdemeanor, which would ruin all of our lives.
Senator Jack Johnson has introduced Senate Bill 3, which would make an adult cabaret performance on public property or somewhere that children could see it a crime. He says he crafted the bill because of sexually explicit drag shows he says happened at a library and a public park.
I don't necessarily know all the details about all of these instances. I do know, however, that video has circulated online and elsewhere, and there have been some news reports of it as well, of a drag show type of performance taking place that was overtly sexual in nature. It was sexually suggestive, and there being kids around.
Senator Johnson says it would not apply to drag shows that do not include sexual content. Moth says that part of the bill leaves too much open for interpretation.
Straight people love to sexualize LGBTQIA people. They look at us and they see everything that we do is something that's sexually explicit.
Age-restricted venues like Drew's Bar would be unaffected by this bill if it were to pass. But Moth says some of her highest-paying performances have happened in public places.
Queer people and LGBTQIA people belong in public spaces.
Tri-State Black Pride co-founder and vice president Dr. David Clemens calls the bill disgusting.
You have these rich, privileged, racist, homophobic men making decisions for Tennesseans.
You will not harm or subjugate me because of it. I'm not harming anybody.
In Memphis, I'm Stephen Pimpo. We spoke with Young Dolph's sister, Carlisa Thornton, just right after the verdict was announced, and she was understandably emotional, saying this is just a step towards getting justice for her brother. Now, Justin Straight Drop Johnson will serve life in prison for shooting the Memphis rapper. Now, the jury spent about 4 hours deliberating on their verdict. Prosecutors built their case against Johnson on video of him wearing the same clothes as one of the gunmen, cell phone evidence showing his phone near Makita's cookies during the shooting, and the testimony of the other alleged shooter, Cornelius Smith. Now, defense attorney Luke Evans argues that the testimonies of Smith and witness Kiston Garner, who saw Johnson get into the alleged murder vehicle, he says they lied and can't be trusted because they've lied to police before about their involvement. However, Assistant DA Paul Hagerman pointed out how both testimonies were corroborated by cell phone data. Young Dolph's sister, speaking to us afterwards, asks for people to focus on the life her brother lived and the man that he was.
We ask that you remember the man who enjoyed giving back to others and being an inspiration to those who come from less than ideal backgrounds, and knowing that they are seen and can change their outcomes and the lives of others by doing something positive. We will continue to heal and keep Adolph's legacy alive.
We spoke with defense attorney Luke Evans afterwards as well. He says his client Johnson is devastated and maintains his innocence, saying they will appeal this verdict. Sentencing for Johnson is set for November 1st. Live at 201 Poplar, I'm Stephen Pimpo.